Hello and welcome to the WriteCome.com podcast, where we help you to make money from your words. Each episode will be sharing tips, tricks, and strategies you can use to make more money from your writing, publishing, and marketing to your fans and audience. Let's get started with your host, Barry J. McDonald.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very welcome to today's podcast episode from WriteCome.com. And today's podcast episode is entitled, Where's My Motivation? Now, I was listening to a podcast this morning where the great Gary Vee was being interviewed, and in the live stream, somebody had asked him the question, how does he get motivated? How does he get motivated to show up as often as he does, and always to seem that he's so full of energy? You know, if you ever listen to Gary, he always sounds like he's on something, and he always sounds he could work from sunrise to sunset, and it wouldn't take a thing out of him. Now, his response surprised me in that it was so short, in that he simply said he loves doing what he's doing. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. Whatever you are doing right now, do you find it a chore? Do you find it a chore to get out of bed and open up the laptop and start writing? Do you find it a chore to record a podcast episode? Do you find it a chore to record a video? Do you find it a chore in any part of your business? And if you do find it a chore, it's probably because you have no love for it. And because you have no love for it, you just are pushing yourself to do whatever it is you need to do. It's almost like that picture you probably have seen of that person who is rolling that huge boulder up the hill every day. If you feel maybe that parts of your business are like that, well, it probably means that you shouldn't be doing them. Now, I was just thinking about that, not only in your business, but in my own business. You know, how have I stayed with the podcast as long as I have, or how have I stayed with the WriteCome site as long as I have, and how have I stayed with some of the things I have done for as long as I did, even before the money didn't show up. And again, I would agree with Gary, it's because I have a love of what I am doing. You know, even this podcast here, at the moment I think it's 320 episodes of this podcast. Now, at the moment I haven't made a penny from this podcast, not that I can actually see any income coming in from it yet, but I have no problem recording podcast episodes even though I have no money coming in from them. If I was recording this podcast because I was going to make money from it, I would probably give up right now, or I probably wouldn't be motivated to record these episodes because I couldn't see that end goal of making the money. But when I think about why I actually do these podcast episodes, it's because I have a great love of writing, self-publishing, people creating content from home and creating online businesses. I have a great love for that. And because I have a great love for that, I have no problem sitting down in the car now for half an hour or so, recording a couple of episodes on this podcast. And there also is another reason for that, in that nobody in my family is interested in self-publishing or writing or creating content or creating training programs. Nobody in my house has a great love for that, and nobody in my circle of friends or family are interested in that also. So I've nobody actually to talk about that other than you in this podcast. So the reason I do this podcast is because sometimes I pick up some tips and tricks, sometimes I learn something, and because I've nobody in my inner circle that I can share that content with, I simply put it in this podcast in the hope that somebody out on the other side of the world has a great love of self-publishing, or has a great a love of online businesses or whatever, and hopefully I can share those tips and tricks with that person over there, because they have a love for it too. And that's because of that, I find it very easy to sit down here and record a couple of podcast episodes sitting in my driveway, walking around the field or whatever, even though I am not making any money from it. But it's because I love doing this podcasting, and that's why I'm doing it. So if you find maybe that you are finding it hard in your business, you're finding it hard to show up, you're not making any money from it right now, and it just seems a total grind, I want you maybe just to rethink what you are doing right now, and maybe turn your little boat in another direction. Have a look and see what you have a love for. It could be knitting, it could be belly dancing, it could be dog training, it could be something at all. But what is your love in? And turn yourself in that direction. And the more you start doing things that you love, the more you are going to find it's going to be easier to turn up and record your videos. You're going to find it easier to sit in front of a keyboard, and you're going to find it easier to show up every single day because you're talking and writing and recording yourself about something that you love doing. So as Gary said, if you are finding it hard, do something that you love. So as always, if you'd like to reach out to me, if you'd like me to record anything in this podcast, a question or anything like that, feel free to send an email to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com. Or if you know somebody who does have a love of what I am doing in this podcast and maybe would like to hear a couple of these episodes, feel free to share it on your social media platforms. Or if you'd like to subscribe, I'll send all the next podcast episodes directly on to you. And as always, thanks for sharing your time again today. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the rightcome.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.